should I be doing in these appointments that is the most effective for my clients? And even while I was going through my own journey, and I was down in Mexico, and I was going through a variety of different types of therapies and treatments, I kept saying, God, why am I being held and carried and, taught throughout this whole thing? And Spirit was like, we're just giving you the frequencies, we're giving you the knowledge. And boy, did I gather that. So now that's what I
Wow.
do when I work with people that aren't sick, or they just want to upgrade their energy, and people that have maybe had certain treatments, or maybe the jab, different things like that, that I want to implement into their body, into their DNA, into their chromosomes. I want to activate the DNA repair proteins right from the get-go, which is what I found out with mine, as my body just didn't make them. And so for all those that may be susceptible to different autoimmune conditions and depression or dementia or whatever it might be, I want to go in and actually shift the genes. I want to activate them into this whole program of actually becoming ageless. Because within this program, you receive everything. I mean, as far as supplements, what to do, what not to do, the best energy frequencies to implement and download and
Wow.
integrate into your body, all of that. So much
Wow.
to say.
There's a lot to cover. And for the
Yeah.
first time ever, you're doing something with a certain image and frequencies around a certain image that people can use to hold
Yeah.
a higher resonance. I want to get into that. You see energy in a very unique way. I mean, I know you go into the bodies, you get almost like a picture of what's going on. Explain that to people who may not be familiar with your story and the 50,000 healings you've done. How does energy come into your awareness, and what do you do if you see something that just isn't maybe in alignment to our highest health, our highest
Yeah.
self?
Well, first of all, let me back up just one
Yeah.
moment in answer to that question and say, for 20 years, I studied theta healing, and I teach 12 different courses in that. So all of that begins with remastering and resetting the DNA. So that's what I started with in the 1990s, way back then. But since then, and probably by about 2006, when I did the two Fox News stories that went worldwide,
Yeah.
um, God has been my teacher. I didn't have another teacher beyond God. So all the people that came forth in all these countries and all these people around the world and the world healings we've done. I mean, you've been part of some of these, and they're amazing. And people jump on, and we're healing all kinds of issues all around the world. And so that's why it's probably really over 50,000, because there's so many people that have jumped on and done these healings with us. But during that process, I think it's fine tuned me and showed me so many things that, I remember at 8 years old, I was shown we can heal our body with our minds. And I was sitting out on my grass, and I remember that very clearly. And God said it's coming in the future. And then it started to materialize as I raised my children. But I really feel like now, what I'm being shown when I go into a person's body is how it lights up so beautifully, so
Mm.
vibrantly, and so, it's so meticulous, and there's so much intuition and divine guidance coming in. And if I'm working on the heart, it's showing me the exact chamber, and maybe the
Wow.
mitral valve, or the muscle, or the different arteries, capillaries, and veins, or different aspects of emotions. And so, whatever I'm working on, it's so interesting because sometimes the readings are very different. So,
Mm.
there's a different slideshow that God shows me of this person, and sometimes it's their past that
Mm.
brought them to this moment and why they need to heal the heart, just for instance, um,
Mm.
or why they need to heal their bladder or their brain, like you were talking about,
Yeah.
and what set the stage for that. And I just get flashes and knowledge, and
Wow.
a lot of stuff that I didn't want to know, but I get shown that, and then we go in and clear it.
Yeah, I
It's
mean,
me
yeah,
too.
we you clear it. So tell me about that process when something is cleared. How does that work? What happens? And maybe we can give people some tips today too on how they can maybe do some of this in their own life in some way. But a
Yes.
clearing, what is a clearing according to you, Melinda Lee, and how do you begin that process for people?
So I ask God, show me what you want me to do. And many times it's already done by the time my brain and that person's brain and energy catches up. So it's like sometimes it's just a flash second. But if there are literally a lot of different beliefs underneath it, then sometimes I have to do the belief work to allow the shifting and the healing to be complete and to stay. So that's the power of the healing. But the biggest thing I can say is I just go in, I am shown what
Mm,
needs to be shifted out. If it's a belief system, I'm shifting it on past, present, future levels.
wow.
Like, say, I love myself, no is the main root, and I'm clearing that and I'm watching it clear out of the person's etheric field, out of their spirit body, out of their emotional, mental, physical body, and out
Mm,
of their environment. Because so many times their environment is really like geopathic frequencies or different things that they're doing on a daily basis is directly affecting them. And I tell them that. So then we shift. I literally watch it. God's the healer, the creator's
yes.
the healer. Always, always, always. I am the facilitator and the witness. So, on the other level, I'm witnessing the healing for you. And I always say to people, if you don't heal instantly, it's still emotional. Go deeper. And the other thing that I do in a personal healing session that most people don't even realize is I say, God, show me the root of this
Yes.
issue. Because otherwise, we could spend 45 minutes on all the beliefs or longer, several appointments just trying to get to that. So I'm like, show me why they're going through this lesson. Show me what it's here to teach them. Show them the best thing that can happen out of this situation and the worst thing that could happen. And show me their best life. And then when we start doing I do downloads or activations into their body to show them their best life living without it because so many people have been sick their whole lives and
Yeah.
they don't know what it feels like to feel good. So, and sometimes it's only been a couple years or 5 or 10 years, but they still need to be reminded. And I would think you said something earlier
Yeah.
that made me think of the two most important things to actualize a healing. And I learned this during my own latest journey in healing myself was actually being able to receive and accept a healing. And
Mm,
I really feel like we have blocks to this on a spiritual level, on an emotional level. We want it on certain levels, but we want it the way we want it to come in. And maybe it's not meant to come in that way. We just have to be fully open to receive and accept it. And when you can really anchor that in, like just go into that for a moment, if everyone will, to just process that for a minute, that you can fully receive and accept any healing that is for your highest and best good in the highest and best way possible with the healers that you resonate with, just in that divine perfect way for you, and
mm.
integrate that right now because that will allow so much good to flow into your body and maybe even prayers to work more effectively.
Beautiful. Just let everybody connect into that. Yeah, I love that. It's that ability to receive, it's that ability to believe and know and be present, be connected, be in faith that it's going to happen. A lot of times, we can listen and we go, oh, she's saying that, but do you actually like, are you ingesting it as a truth? Because it's going to be true for that person. It's going to be true for that person, but is it true for you? And it's only when it's true for you or me or my wife or my best friend that they actually get the result. Like
Yep.
that's the whole secret. Let me ask you, we had a great question from Sulise, and she asked about some of the different diseases out there. And of course, we're not diagnosing or anything, but with diseases and some of the emotional energies behind them, what are some of the common emotional diseases that may underlie emotional conditions or feelings or blockages that could underlie certain diseases?
Oh, that's such a great question.
Is it?
And I think the big one is being disconnected from God.
Mm,
And a lot of people don't even know they are. So they can go to church every week, they can pray and meditate, but they can still have that ancient belief within them that I'm disconnected from God, or they have issues against or with God. And
yes.
sometimes it's the word God. So when I started healing, I go, we're going into spirit, universal life force energy, God, creator, whatever you believe, it is the universal
Mm,
energy. And I bring them into that space. And I'm like, it's all the same. We can clear any issues with God for that person. But I think that's one of them. And getting that really, really clear that God is an unconditionally loving and accepting God and not punishing or not judgmental. And really integrating that into a person's mind, body, soul, so they can accept a healing and they can feel that love
mm,
of the creator. They may never have known unconditional love in this reality until, by the creator, especially, that
yes.
they need that activation, they need that integration.
Yeah, so it might be the belief that God has abandoned me, or why would this happen in my life if God truly loved me, or,
Yes,
why, and even, it's interesting, but, you see beautiful children harmed or starving, and you
yes.
say, well, if there's a God, why is this happening? So like these little things sneak in, and we start to kind of lose that faith, I would think, in something greater and something good. What are some other examples? Like take I don't know, like, is there an example for like bone diseases or
Yes,
osteoporosis? Was there something
yes,
behind your own belief system there or others?
yes. And when I had that, it was before I started doing healing work. I was still in the film business and I was supporting 1,000 people from LA to New York. And
Mm,
when I look at people now, that have any kind of bone condition. And I recognize that it was my issue was a lack of support.
support.
I was doing 200 phone calls a day. I was under a lot of pressure to perform. If talent were not on set with everything they needed, then I was the one that got in trouble for it. It was just a lot of different pressures. And of course, I needed all my own healing after that 20-year journey in that. And so it led me to the healing work. But the bones are about support because if you think about it, the muscles think they're in control of the body. They
Mm,
really do, and they kind of are. But they believe, and their main belief is control. The bones are
mm,
support for all the organs, glands, and systems in the body. So when you look at that, they really are. And so it's about support. So for a moment, stop and think about that for yourself. Do you feel divinely supported by God? Do you feel, and that may be this whole God creator stuff can be a whole healing session in itself.
yeah.
So, but really looking at where's your support? Is it your spouse? Is it your team around you, like with Darius and I? Who supports you? And then getting really, really clear with that. And that will help your bones stay healthy. There are still other things with the bones because the blood and this stem cells and the T cells are all created within the bone, right? So then when we go into the blood, then we go into all the emotions of the blood. And based on your blood type, which is one of the programs I created that's within this program, discover your blood type and discover your destiny. It's your universal life blueprint is right there within your blood. So that's an interesting one. But,
Wow.
when you go into the bones, I always look deeper at everything and what's going on there and what needs to be shifted in that person. And sometimes I will say to them, where's your lack of support? Well, I was not supported as a child.
Yes.
I had to be an adult by the time I was 12 years old. I left there, I went to another state, I had no family. And so I've had clients like this, so I can speak about that without names. And, it just tells the story. So sometimes these emotions and these beliefs and these illnesses are actually a gift
Yes.
that bring you to healing, to deeper healing, and to really excavating your soul and learning about yourself and rewriting not only your past, but your future.
What about the C, the thing that starts with C and ends with answer?
Okay, well, that is generally linked to anger, hatred,
Okay.
and resentment. And,
Uh,
I had done about 20 years of belief work on myself. So when this happened, I was just wanting answers so much.
mm,
And, it was endometrial. So, and they were like, you have 3 months to live. And I'm like, what? I mean, what is going on in my world? Like, what is this? But anyway, what I figured out is that my body did not make the DNA repair proteins, but I had to go to Huntsman in Salt Lake City to discover that. But it was a couple year journey through that whole thing. The
yeah,
DNA repair proteins. Let me just tell you a little bit about these.
please. Yeah.
There can be a lot of beliefs, and anger, hatred, resentment could have started that. And when you go back to uterus and
Mm,
you look at your female organs or male organs, all the sexual organs are directly connected to partners. And when you look at the uterus, at the top of the uterus, I didn't even know this till I went through this journey, but at the top of that is a spiritual vortex that women have that links them on a cellular DNA memory level to any partners you've had. So you can
wow.
actually take on the DNA of different partners you've been with, not only your spouse now. And a lot of that needs to be cleared in the emotional memory. Maybe there was abandonment, maybe there was anger about something, maybe there was abuse, things like that that needs to be done. So that's kind of a deep subject, but I wanted to say that with all the sexual organs, it comes back to, you know, spouses, to love, to your deep connection to relationships.
Amazing.
So
Amazing.
yeah, and I wanted to say one more thing about the DNA repair protein. That is linked to, and what I'm finding is most people's DNA repair protein in their DNA. So this protects you from tumors and all kinds of things in your body. Um, but most people, they're only good with their levels of DNA repair protein till they're about 30. And
Wow.
after 30, just like glutathione and stem cells and everything changes after that. And so, but especially with these, and it is big time geopathic stress. It is chemicals in the food and the water. It is vaccines. It is medications. It is all kinds of, I'm just going to say poisons, toxins, lethal disruptors that are interfering with the DNA processes and rewrite the DNA. So it
Oh.
changes the DNA
Mm,
repair proteins. And that's why there's so much C word, you know what
mm-hmm.
I'm talking about, in the world right now, is because of the 5G and because of some of the other things I mentioned that is influencing the cell. And the DNA and mitochondria and ATP all exist within the cell. And then you have the genome. And the genome within all of that takes you deeper into other worlds and universes within the cell.
Wow.
How cool is that?
Very cool. And it makes a lot of sense. And I want to say right now, today, at the time we're recording this, we had a news break that RFK Jr. just disclosed to the world, and these are the kind of things that should stop everything, but you know how the world is,
Yeah.
that the aerosol pollution that a lot of people are seeing in the skies that's following these jets is actually due to an additive in the jet fuel that is causing these aerosol lines, and that this is being done for quote unquote some sort of climate type of uh, benefit but there is an additive that is staying in these trails of exhaust that is creating these plumes. And this now comes down into our water, into our soil, into the farming communities that we get our food from and everything else. So, I mean, like, this is a big deal for people that thought this was going on and were told they were crazy and worried about these toxins. It's a real thing. So we need some supernatural help in many respects. Like, we
Absolutely.
need this higher consciousness perspective to adjust ourselves to this, especially after 30 with this decline. And I do want to get to some questions for everybody. If you are here, raise your hand. It's going to be a great time to help yourself. So go ahead and raise your hand now. Kathy said, yeah, these trails the other day were so awful. I pulled over to the car just to take pictures. Yeah.
Yes.
You discovered, though, in how you looked at some of these diseases and what was behind them, you also discovered these biospiritual switches, these
Yes.
literal switches that can affect how we age, how we feel, and again, getting into the spiritual energy, maybe how long we stay vital, right? As we start to realize these truths about ourselves. Tell me about some of these switches and what they mean, what you discovered about them.
What I've discovered is that really, truly, only 5% of all C word, okay,
Mm,
is genetic. Isn't that
oh,
interesting? You would think it would be much higher. And what I was shown by Creator is that some of it is simply a misplaced chromosome on the DNA ladder. So I'm going to go into these specific genes and
okay.
address those, but I want people to understand that not everything is genetic.
Mm,
And, I ask God when people come forward and say, I have an abnormal thyroid, it's this, or I have a heart defect, it's this. I just go in and ask God, is this genetic? If it is, we jump right into the healing, we shift the gene work. So I say, God, show me what is at the root of this specific condition like thyroid condition because that's so prevalent, and where does that go back to? It can certainly be emotions, but it can also be a genetic tendency like it was in my family, and it's been very prevalent to show up as overactive or underactive, right? So it was a genetic pattern that needed to be carried back and cleared into an ancestral level
mm,
or wherever our souls were before we came here. And sometimes it could be poisons and toxins and things. And sometimes it could go into the brain and into the pituitary, which creates all the chemicals to stimulate the thyroid. And it's where thyroxine is made. So, there's so much to say about everything. But I know I was going to answer this about the genes, but then
yeah.
God takes me into these other answers. So I really feel like the gene work, which has been honestly being done with our minds for probably 40 years now. This is not new. This is easy and
Mm,
effortless and phenomenal.
okay.
And something happens in the moment you just go, okay, I want to shift that gene on being over, my obesity gene or whatever. And then you go into the creator's version of that and you look at that and you shift it. To a certain degree, that's going to shift on your own. But when you do it in the brainwaves I do it with the creator, it's a whole different ballpark because we're shifting it on so many deep levels and patterns and spiritual realities.
Mm,
So that's another topic. So as I go into the genes, when I look at specific ones, like say you want to do anti-aging, which is the topic of this program, right?
yes, we do.
Back to that. So we want to really become ageless and we want to live as long as we can possibly live as healthy and as have as much youth and vitality as possible.
Yes.
First of all, when I'm working with someone with that, we're going to go into the DNA, we're going to activate their youth and vitality chromosome because some
Okay.
of these
And
things
that's an actual chromosome. There
yes,
is a
yes,
chromosome called youth.
yes.
I did not
And
know this. I should know this.
you do know
I
that.
know it now.
Yes. And then we go into whatever else God tells me to do next. And sometimes it's different than what I think it's going to be. So
Wow.
God will say, no, you need to shift this gene before these others will shift. So
Mm,
that can be kind of complex in that. I won't try to describe that, but I'm just going to say, let's just take for exceptional longevity the APOE gene, which is
okay.
involved in making a protein that helps carry cholesterol out of the body. It's a very powerful anti-aging gene, and it connects with your gut and your health and your cognition. So that one you definitely need to activate it back to its original God code, like back
Okay.
to its original divine beginning at the spark of light, the moment you were conceived in the womb, before you took on anything else, taking it back to that and then bringing it forward into your timeline right now. So that's just one of several. Tell me if you
Wow.
want me to keep going.
Well, I do, but I also want to get to questions because today I do want to help some people. So maybe let's keep sprinkling these in. The APOE gene connects with the gut and health and cognition, helps clear cholesterol out of our system. What do y'all think? Is that a good one? Do you think that would be one that you'd want fully activated? And we are getting a question really quick. With a lot of post COVID, I'm not just talking about the COVID shots, but post COVID reality. Maybe they had COVID, maybe they lived through COVID, maybe they were exposed to the spike protein. A lot of people feeling some changes. Joey says, I'm only 55 and my wrists cramp up so much I can barely unscrew caps. Uh, what's going on? Right. So these are the kind of things that maybe have changed us in some way. The things that we've been exposed to, the environmental changes, toxins, other things like that, the manufactured spike proteins and other
Yes,
things. Yeah. So what you're saying is our genes are not maybe as activated as they once were, or they've been somehow
yes.
manipulated. Okay.
Good point. So
Okay.
many things enter into that. But
Okay.
back to what you were just saying with the long COVID, I work with a lot of people with long COVID. They never even had the bats, but they had COVID.
Right.
And so, and it left with, I don't know, they're left with so many different conditions. So I just say, because I could go into a whole program just on that one thing. When you work with me, I work with specific products, whatever God tells me that you need. And then we work together with it. I won't say them here, but I'm just going to say they are powerful. You probably don't know about them. Maybe you do if you've worked with me before. And they are going to help clean up your body and get rid of that. Because when you've had COVID, it's changed your spike proteins, it's
Mhm.
mutated and changed your mRNA. It has activated things in your body. Maybe you no longer sleep, or you have sleep problems, or you're just not as agile as you used to be, and so many other conditions. So we really need to get the viruses, bacteria, parasites, candida, fungus, nanoparticles, and mycotoxins out of your body so that you can heal.
Yeah.
And so when I'm working with someone, it's a joint effort. We're together in this. It's not just a one appointment, 30-minute, it gets you started and we start the process, but it might take a couple healings to keep you going and get you where you want to be. So it's very feasible and it's not like hugely expensive, and it's a way for people to heal and transform. And there are so many beliefs that go into it, like why you contracted it in the first place. Where was the fear? And what did that drive you to do that is linked to other possibilities as a result of your choices? So we go in and we clean up the body, mind, spirit, leaving you feeling awesome, euphoric, and then you'll transform for quite a few days and weeks. And so
I
that's,
love it.
yeah.
Yeah. I love it. Well, what I want to do, Joey had this question about how they were feeling. So, Joey, could you raise your hand? I tried to send you a chat request, and I want to get to some questions. And I'm really excited because we've got a whole system that you put together to help people jumpstart this and really move forward with a lot of interaction from you, a lot of things included that are going to be pretty amazing. Okay, there's Joey. So Joey, thank you for, let me see if I can unmute you really quick.
Yep.
Oh, there you go. Hi, Joey.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello. And it's not they don't hurt all the time. It's just when I move them a certain way and writing it especially. And I think it could even be like there's something called cell phone hand. And I'm not connected to myself. I don't scroll and I'm not on it all day. But I do notice that since I do use it more than I have in the past, and and then I'm just also wondering maybe I have too much. I'm holding too much. I'm not sure.
Well, let's see what Melinda sees. It's going to
Okay.
be interesting.
Well, and the wrists and the fingers and the hands are about giving